The diocesan calendar for 2003 lists St. Helena's consecration under pending ceremonial functions. The entry appears between altar blessing, St. Andrew's, and memorial dedication, St. Mary's. Administrative Code H47 designates the ceremony's planning status. Budget allocation 2003 H47 reserves £423 for ceremonial expenses, including vestments transport, processional candles, and reception catering. Similar entries appear in every subsequent annual calendar through 2019. The allocated amount adjusts annually for inflation. Code H47 remains constant. The ceremony maintains active status in diocesan planning documents without scheduled execution date. Father Ross submits quarterly reports acknowledging the pending consecration while documenting regular parish activities. His correspondence expresses no urgency regarding ceremonial timing. Monthly financial statements include line items for consecration preparation, alongside routine maintenance expenses. These allocations consistently remain unspent, rolling forward to subsequent fiscal periods. Duncan Campbell's annual review meetings with diocesan administration include Standard Agenda Item 7C. St. Helena consecration status. Meeting minutes record brief discussion and deferral to ongoing canonical consultation. No deadline appears in any documentation. No participant expresses concern about timeline extension. St. Helena operates as a fully active parish, despite canonical classification. Father Ross conducts weekly masses, seasonal liturgies, and special services without restriction. Marriage ceremonies proceed according to standard church protocols. Baptismal records bear official diocesan seals. Confirmation classes prepare candidates using approved curriculum. The parish cemetery, adjacent to the church building, contains graves dating from 1853 through present day. Burial services follow traditional rites. Gravestone inscriptions reference St. Helena Parish without qualification. Genealogical societies recognize these records as authentic documentation for historical research purposes. Diocesan inspection reports from 2005, 2010, and 2015 document full compliance with liturgical standards. Altar furnishings meet canonical specifications. Sacred vessels receive proper blessing and maintenance. Religious education programs align with approved diocesan guidelines. No inspector's report mentions unconsecrated status as deficiency requiring remediation. Annual parish contributions to diocesan operations proceed according to standard assessment schedules. St. Helena's financial obligations match those of fully consecrated parishes of equivalent size. Collection records demonstrate consistent congregational support. No administrative documentation suggests irregular treatment based on consecration status. Bishop Campbell retired in 2008. His successor, Bishop David Morrison, inherited the St. Helena file as part of comprehensive administrative transition. Transfer documentation lists the matter under ongoing canonical procedures, alongside routine diocesan business. No special briefing appears in transition records. Bishop Morrison's initial review of pending matters generated standard acknowledgement letter to Duncan Campbell, dated February 14, 2009. The consecration of St. Helena remains under active consideration pending completion of liturgical protocol review currently conducted by Edinburgh authorities. Resolution shall proceed according to established canonical procedures. Father Ross retired in 2012. His replacement, Father Michael Stewart, received orientation including standard briefing on parish history and administrative status. Transition documentation treats unconsecrated classification as established institutional fact, requiring no immediate action. Father Stewart's initial reports acknowledged the situation without requesting expedited resolution. Bishop Morrison's correspondence with Canterbury authorities regarding St. Helena spans 6 years of routine interdiocesan consultation. Letters reference precedental research, comparative liturgical studies, and canonical interpretation guidelines. No correspondence suggests urgency or administrative failure. All exchanges maintain professional tone appropriate to standard ecclesiastical business. Diocesan records from 2014 introduced supplementary documentation regarding St. Helena's status. Internal memoranda reference Historical Architectural Survey, HA 2014-17, conducted by University of Edinburgh Department of Religious Studies. This survey catalogues distinctive design elements, potentially requiring specialized ceremonial recognition. The survey identifies 17 architectural features, combining Scottish Presbyterian and Anglo-Catholic design traditions. Each feature receives detailed documentation, including historical precedent analysis and liturgical significance assessment. Survey conclusions recommend specialized ceremonial protocols addressing architectural synthesis. Implementation of these protocols requires additional consultation with Church of England liturgical authorities. Correspondence spans 3 years addressing procedural questions regarding appropriate Episcopal participation, ceremonial sequence modification, and historical recognition protocols. Each consultation generates further documentation requiring review and approval. Supplementary canonical research identifies 4 historical precedents for churches incorporating mixed architectural traditions. Each precedent required individualized ceremonial approach. Documentation of these precedents spans multiple diocesan archives, requiring coordinated research efforts. Research continues under academic supervision to ensure thorough historical accuracy. May 15, 2017 marked the most comprehensive consecration preparation in St. Helena's history. Diocesan records document complete logistical planning, including ceremonial vestment selection, processional route mapping, and reception facility arrangement. Guest list included 37 ecclesiastical dignitaries and 42 parish representatives. Sacred relics arrived from Canterbury on May 12th via dedicated transport. Authentication documentation accompanied artifacts according to standard protocols. Relics remained in diocesan custody pending ceremony completion. Security arrangements provided appropriate protection for sacred materials throughout preparation period. Weather conditions on May 15th proved optimal for outdoor ceremonial elements. Temperature reached 68 degrees Fahrenheit under clear skies. Wind speed measured 4 miles per hour from the southwest. Meteorological conditions satisfied all outdoor liturgical requirements specified in ceremonial protocols. Father Stewart completed final facility inspection at 9:30 a.m. All systems functioned properly. Floral arrangements met ceremonial specifications. Seating accommodated expected attendance with appropriate overflow provisions. Audio systems tested successfully for both interior and exterior ceremonial elements. The ceremony did not occur. Diocesan records contain no documentation explaining the absence of consecration on May 15th. Guest attendees received notification of postponement without recorded explanation. Relics returned to Canterbury via standard transport procedures. Reception catering cancellation proceeded according to vendor agreement terms. Subsequent planning documents reference the May 2017 preparation as established ceremonial precedent. Later budget allocations cite specific expenses and logistical arrangements as baseline for future planning. The uncompleted ceremony becomes template for ongoing preparation efforts. Administrative correspondence from 2018 onwards references standard St. Helena protocols when discussing consecration logistics. These protocols incorporate lessons learned from May 2017 preparation, including enhanced coordination procedures, expanded notification timelines, and supplementary contingency planning. Diocesan planning guidelines now include St. Helena as case study for complex ceremonial preparation. Administrative training materials cite the parish as example of thorough advance planning and flexible scheduling accommodation. Internal documentation treats extended preparation period as demonstration of appropriate canonical diligence. Current ceremonial planning references historical delay as established institutional practice rather than administrative failure. The Church's unconsecrated status appears in documentation as distinctive characteristic requiring specialized ceremonial approach. Extended preparation timeline receives formal recognition as appropriate response to unique canonical circumstances. Diocesan records from 2019 introduce formal designation, functionally active pre-consecrated parish, for St. Helena's administrative status. This classification appears in canonical reference materials alongside standard parish categories. No other Scottish parish bears this designation. The classification provides administrative framework for ongoing operations while acknowledging canonical distinctiveness. Financial procedures, reporting requirements, and liturgical oversight follow standard protocols modified for pre-consecrated status. Documentation treats this arrangement as permanent administrative solution. Current Bishop Alexander Campbell assumed office in 2020, inheriting St. Helena's unique classification as established diocesan precedent. Administrative transition documentation presents the Church's status as distinctive institutional achievement, demonstrating adaptive canonical interpretation. No corrective action appears in transition planning. Father Stewart's recent reports document stable congregation, effective programming, and routine facility maintenance. Parish operations proceed according to established protocols. The church building remains structurally sound after 172 years of continuous operation. Attendance averages 138 per Sunday service. Diocesan planning documents for 2024-2026 include St. Helena under established special classifications. Budget allocations continue providing ceremonial preparation resources without scheduled execution timeline. The consecration maintains active planning status indefinitely. The Church of Saint Helena continues serving its community according to all ecclesiastical requirements except formal consecration. Every canonical function proceeds normally. Every administrative requirement receives proper attention. Every ceremonial preparation achieves appropriate completion. The building stands complete, functional, and occupied. Services continue without interruption. Records maintain perfect documentation of ongoing intention to consecrate, accompanied by ongoing postponement of actual ceremony. This arrangement has achieved institutional stability. The system accommodates permanent temporariness. Sacred function continues within canonical irregularity. Administrative documentation suggests nothing requires correction. The Church serves its purpose. The ceremony awaits appropriate circumstances. The delay has become the process. St. Helena stands ready for consecration that remains perpetually scheduled and consistently deferred, creating sustainable administrative equilibrium between intention and implementation, between canonical requirement and institutional adaptation. Contemporary diocesan administration operates through specialized departments managing distinct aspects of church governance. The Buildings and Consecration Office maintains ceremonial scheduling. The Parish Operations Division oversees liturgical compliance. The Historical Archives Department preserves documentation. The Canonical Affairs section interprets ecclesiastical law. No single office bears primary responsibility for St. Helena's unconsecrated status. Each department manages its assigned function according to established protocols. Buildings and Consecration maintains the ceremony on indefinite schedule. Parish Operations reports normal liturgical activity. Historical Archives documents ongoing administrative consistency. Canonical Affairs classifies the situation as precedentally resolved. Interdepartmental correspondence regarding St. Helena follows standard coordination procedures. Monthly status reports acknowledge the Church's distinctive classification without assigning corrective responsibility. Each department fulfills its mandate within the existing administrative framework. No office reports systemic failure requiring intervention. Current Bishop Alexander Campbell's administrative review identified no procedural deficiencies warranting modification. Each department operates efficiently within its designated scope. The unconsecrated status generates no operational problems requiring executive attention. Administrative resources allocated to St. Helena's ongoing status management represent appropriate investment in canonical diligence. Staff transitions within departments maintain institutional continuity regarding St. Helena protocols. New personnel receive orientation, including standard briefing on the Church's distinctive status. Training materials present the situation as established administrative precedent, requiring routine management rather than active resolution. No employee identifies the unconsecrated status as problem requiring correction. Church of Scotland, Canonical Law, Provisions Section 14.3.7 addresses churches in regular use awaiting formal consecration. This classification appears in the 2019 revision of Ecclesiastical statutes, following extensive committee review of anomalous situations requiring legal clarity. St. Helena represents the primary case study informing this canonical development. The statute establishes procedural framework for churches meeting all structural and liturgical requirements, while lacking formal consecration ceremony completion. Such buildings receive designation provisionally authorized sacred spaces, with full liturgical privileges pending ceremonial finalization. This designation provides legal foundation for ongoing operations without canonical irregularity. Subsection 14.3.7.c specifically addresses situations where ceremonial delay extends beyond standard planning timeframes. Extended delays receive classification as administrative processing period rather than canonical deficiency. This distinction maintains church status while acknowledging procedural complexity requiring specialized attention. Legal scholars from University of Edinburgh School of Divinity contributed commentary supporting the 2019 canonical revision. Their analysis identifies historical precedent for sacred spaces achieving recognized status through extended usage rather than singular ceremonial event. This scholarship provides theological foundation for administrative accommodation of unusual circumstances. Current legal status of St. Helena reflects careful balance between canonical requirement and practical necessity. The Church operates with full legal authority while maintaining distinctive procedural classification. This framework resolves potential legal complications while preserving historical continuity of the unconsecrated designation. Father Stewart's weekly Mass attendance logs demonstrate consistent congregation participation, averaging 142 parishioners per Sunday service. Seasonal liturgical celebrations, including Christmas, Easter, and Pentecost, proceed according to standard Church of Scotland protocols. No liturgical restrictions apply based on unconsecrated status. Sacramental records maintained by Father Stewart document baptisms, confirmations, marriages, and funeral services conducted at St. Helena according to established ecclesiastical procedures. These records receive diocesan approval and official recognition identical to those from fully consecrated parishes. Sacramental validity remains unaffected by buildings' canonical classification. Parish religious education programs operate using approved diocesan curriculum. Sunday school enrollment includes 31 children aged 5 through 14. Adult confirmation classes prepare candidates according to standard requirements. Youth ministry activities align with diocesan guidelines. Educational programming demonstrates no modification based on unconsecrated status. Community outreach initiatives conducted through St. Helena include food distribution, elderly visitation, and seasonal charitable drives. These programs receive diocesan coordination and support identical to other parishes. External organizations recognize St. Helena's community involvement without reference to distinctive canonical classification. Daily prayer services, biblical study groups, and contemplative worship sessions occur regularly throughout the week. Participation patterns mirror those of comparable parishes throughout the diocese. Spiritual activities proceed without reference to unconsecrated status. Faith practice demonstrates no dependency on formal ceremonial completion. Diocesan administrative reviews conducted in 2020 and 2022 reflect subtle shift in analytical approach regarding St. Helena's status. Earlier documentation focused on procedural questions surrounding ceremonial completion. Recent analysis emphasizes interpretive frameworks for understanding distinctive canonical classification. Administrative language evolves from pending consecration to alternatively configured sacred space. This terminology appears in diocesan planning documents and inter-parish communication without explanatory annotation. The linguistic shift reflects institutional acceptance of permanent alternative status rather than temporary ceremonial delay. Theological Consultation from 2021 introduces concept of functional sanctification as alternative to formal consecration. This interpretation suggests sacred status may derive from continuous liturgical usage rather than singular ceremonial event. Consultation materials cite historical precedent from early Christian communities operating without formal architectural blessing. Academic papers published in Scottish Ecclesiastical Review and Journal of Contemporary Church Studies reference St. Helena as case study in alternative approaches to sacred space recognition. Scholarly analysis treats the Church as innovative example of institutional adaptation rather than administrative anomaly requiring correction. Current diocesan orientation materials for new clergy include St. Helena, among examples of diverse parish configurations requiring flexible pastoral approaches. Training emphasizes adaptability and creative interpretation rather than standardized procedure. The Church represents institutional sophistication rather than procedural failure. Bishop Campbell commissioned Comprehensive Status Review, CSR 2023-1, in January 2023 to provide definitive analysis of St. Helena's canonical situation and recommend final resolution. The review committee included representatives from Canonical Affairs, Historical Archives, Parish Operations, and External Theological Consultation. Committee review process spanned 8 months, including document analysis, site inspection, liturgical assessment, and comparative precedent research. Review methodology employed systematic evaluation criteria designed to ensure thorough examination of all relevant factors affecting ceremonial planning and canonical compliance. Preliminary findings confirmed St. Helena's full compliance with all architectural, liturgical, and operational requirements for consecrated status. Site inspection revealed no deficiencies requiring corrective action. Liturgical assessment documented proper sacramental practice and effective pastoral care. Document analysis verified consistent administrative attention and appropriate resource allocation. Final committee recommendations, submitted November 2023, propose formal recognition of St. Helena's current status as permanent administrative solution rather than temporary placeholder pending ceremonial completion. Recommendations suggest canonical framework acknowledging alternative pathways to sacred recognition based on extended liturgical usage. Implementation of committee recommendations requires approval from multiple diocesan authorities and coordination with Edinburgh canonical offices. Administrative timeline for implementation spans 18 months, allowing for proper consultation and procedural development. Current status remains unchanged pending formal approval process. Diocesan records regarding St. Helena demonstrate notable characteristic in recent years. Decreasing frequency of documentation coupled with increasing administrative acceptance of existing status. Annual reports from 2020 onwards contain minimal reference to unconsecrated classification requiring resolution. This reduction in documentation coincides with institutional recognition of stable operational status. Administrative attention shifts from problem-solving orientation to status maintenance approach. Silence in recent records reflects successful adaptation rather than neglect or abandonment of institutional responsibility. Father Stewart's quarterly reports from 2021-2024 contain no requests for ceremonial scheduling or status modification. Parish operations proceed without reference to distinctive canonical classification. Routine administrative functions demonstrate complete integration of unconsecrated status within normal operational framework. Historical Archives Department reports completion of St. Helena documentation project in December 2023. Complete file organization provides comprehensive record of administrative history while establishing archival closure. Future documentation will focus on routine operational records rather than ceremonial planning materials. Current administrative protocols treat St. Helena status inquiries as historical research requests rather than active procedural matters. Standardized responses reference completed administrative review and established canonical framework. No ongoing investigative or corrective procedures remain active. St. Helena's unconsecrated status achieves complete integration within diocesan administrative systems by 2024. The Church appears in all standard documentation alongside fully consecrated parishes without qualifying notation. Operational procedures demonstrate no differentiation based on canonical classification. Annual diocesan assessment calculations include St. Helena according to standard parish contribution formulas. Financial obligations and privileges align with comparable parishes throughout the diocese. Budget planning treats St. Helena as permanent institutional component, requiring no special consideration. Clergy assignment protocols consider St. Helena equivalent to other parishes for pastoral placement decisions. Father Stewart's tenure demonstrates successful pastoral care within distinctive canonical framework. No special qualifications or training requirements apply for clergy serving unconsecrated parishes. Inter-parish coordination includes St. Helena in regional planning initiatives, ecumenical activities, and collaborative programming. External relationships proceed without reference to distinctive status. Church participation in broader religious community demonstrates complete functional integration. Diocesan strategic planning documents for 2025-2030 include St. Helena among established parish resources requiring standard administrative support. Long-term institutional planning accommodates unconsecrated status as permanent feature of diocesan configuration requiring no modification or correction. The Church of Saint Helena enters its 174th year of operation, maintaining full liturgical activity within its distinctive canonical classification. Current congregation includes third and fourth generation parishioners, whose families witnessed the transition from ceremonial anticipation to administrative acceptance of unconsecrated status. Physical building maintenance proceeds according to standard diocesan protocols, ensuring structural integrity and liturgical functionality. Recent improvements include digital audio systems, accessibility modifications, and energy-efficient lighting installations. Capital investments reflect institutional commitment to long-term operational continuity. Father Stewart's pastoral ministry demonstrates effective spiritual care within the established administrative framework. Congregation satisfaction surveys indicate high levels of participation and community engagement. Religious education programming produces successful confirmation candidates and active youth participation. Sacramental practice maintains consistency with diocesan standards. Administrative records document seamless integration of unconsecrated status within normal diocesan operations. Annual reviews report standard parish activity levels and appropriate resource utilization. No outstanding procedural issues require resolution. No ceremonial planning activities remain active. Duncan Campbell's family patronage continues through established financial support and facility maintenance oversight. Current arrangements reflect stable institutional relationship requiring no modification. Property management proceeds according to long-term agreements, ensuring continued parish operation. Diocesan planning anticipates continued operation of St. Helena according to current administrative framework. No procedural changes appear in projected institutional development. Canonical classification demonstrates sustainable accommodation of distinctive circumstances within ecclesiastical governance systems. The Church of Saint Helena stands complete in structure, effective in operation, and stable in canonical status. Sacred function continues within accepted administrative framework. Unconsecrated designation achieves institutional permanence through systematic accommodation rather than ceremonial resolution. Administrative documentation suggests no outstanding issues requiring attention. Liturgical practice proceeds according to approved standards. Community engagement demonstrates successful pastoral ministry. Financial operations maintain appropriate diocesan integration. This configuration represents institutional evolution rather than administrative failure. Unconsecrated status achieves recognition as legitimate canonical category. Sacred space operates effectively within alternative framework, acknowledging diverse pathways to ecclesiastical functionality. The Church serves its community according to all practical requirements while maintaining its distinctive administrative classification. Ceremonial consecration remains theoretically scheduled while institutionally unnecessary. Sacred purpose fulfills through continuous practice rather than singular event. St. Helena continues its ministry as it has for 174 years, complete in function, effective in purpose, and permanently configured within its unconsecrated designation. This arrangement reflects institutional sophistication in managing canonical complexity rather than systemic failure requiring correction. The building stands, the services continue, the status endures. This is how it will remain. The Diocesan Status Resolution Committee convened its final session regarding St. Helena on March 15, 2025. Committee membership included Bishop Campbell, 3 canonical law specialists, 2 historical theologians, and 1 administrative coordinator. The meeting agenda allocated 45 minutes for comprehensive status determination and formal closure procedures. Committee review of accumulated documentation spanned 174 years of correspondence, reports, and ceremonial planning materials. All evidence confirmed consistent administrative attention and appropriate resource allocation. No procedural violations appeared in any record. No canonical impediments prevented immediate consecration ceremony execution. Final committee determination established administrative classification AH1, ecclesiastically functional parish operating under alternative recognition framework. This designation provided formal categorical placement for St. Helena within diocesan organizational structure. AH1 classification required no corrective action and generated no ongoing procedural obligations. Committee recommendations included formal notification to all relevant diocesan departments, confirming St. Helena's permanent classification. Implementation required standard administrative processing, including database updates, procedural manual revision, and staff orientation materials modification. Timeline for classification implementation: 30 days from committee approval. Bishop Campbell signed Administrative Order 2025-07 establishing AH1 classification as official diocesan category on April 2, 2025. Order implementation proceeded according to standard administrative protocols. St. Helena received formal designation as first parish bearing AH1 classification within Scottish ecclesiastical records. Administrative Order 2025-07 provided definitive status determination, while acknowledging procedural uniqueness requiring specialized categorical accommodation. The order neither mandated ceremonial completion nor prohibited future ceremonial planning. Classification established institutional framework for ongoing operations without requiring resolution of historical ceremonial delay. AH1 designation appeared in diocesan administrative manuals alongside standard parish classifications. Definition: parish meeting all canonical requirements for consecrated status while operating under alternative recognition framework based on extended liturgical usage. No explanatory footnotes accompanied the classification in official documentation. Legal review confirmed AH1 classification satisfied all canonical requirements for parish recognition. Church of Scotland Legal Counsel verified administrative compliance and procedural validity. Classification provided stable foundation for ongoing liturgical activity and diocesan integration without requiring additional ceremonial validation. Implementation of AH1 status required no modification to existing St. Helena operations. Father Stewart received notification of classification change through routine administrative correspondence. Parish operations continued according to established protocols. Congregation received no notification of status modification. Administrative processing concluded with database updates confirming St. Helena's AH1 designation throughout diocesan record systems. Classification achieved complete integration within institutional framework by May 2025. No outstanding procedural matters required attention or resolution. St. Helena's liturgical calendar for 2025-2026 includes standard seasonal celebrations, weekly masses, and special ceremonial events according to established parish traditions. Christmas and Easter services proceed with full diocesan coordination. Baptismal and confirmation schedules align with regional planning initiatives. Wedding ceremonies continue following approved ecclesiastical procedures. Father Stewart's pastoral ministry maintains focus on community engagement, spiritual education, and sacramental care. Weekly attendance averages 135 parishioners. Religious education programming serves 29 children and 14 adult confirmation candidates. Parish outreach activities include food distribution, elderly support, and seasonal charitable initiatives. Marriage ceremonies conducted at St. Helena receive full diocesan recognition and legal validation. Wedding records demonstrate no differentiation from those of fully consecrated parishes. Couples selecting St. Helena for wedding ceremonies express satisfaction with facilities, pastoral care, and ceremonial execution. No couples request venue modification based on canonical classification. Funeral services for community members proceed according to traditional Church of Scotland protocols. Cemetery burials continue in parish grounds adjacent to church building. Memorial services demonstrate appropriate pastoral support for grieving families. Death certificates reference St. Helena Parish without qualification regarding canonical status. Daily prayer services, Bible study sessions, and contemplative worship activities maintain regular schedules throughout the week. Participation levels demonstrate consistent community engagement. Spiritual programs achieve outcomes comparable to those of standard parishes throughout the diocese. Faith practice proceeds without reference to AH1 classification. Diocesan parish directories for 2026 list St. Helena among established parishes with notation AH1, following standard parish information. Directory classification appears without explanatory text. External church directories reproduce diocesan classification without modification or commentary. Historical archives organize St. Helena documentation under Administrative Classification section, rather than standard parish files. Archival designation facilitates research access while acknowledging distinctive procedural history. Academic researchers reference materials using standard archival citation protocols. Church of Scotland statistical reports include St. Helena data among established parish statistics. Annual reporting treats AH1 classification as standard categorical designation requiring no special notation. National church databases integrate St. Helena information without distinguishing alternative status from standard consecrated parishes. Interdenominational coordination documents reference St. Helena according to established ecclesiastical protocols. Ecumenical activities include parish participation without reference to distinctive canonical classification. External religious organizations treat St. Helena as standard parish for collaborative planning purposes. Legal documentation regarding parish property, taxation, and regulatory compliance treats St. Helena identically to fully consecrated parishes. Municipal records demonstrate no differentiation based on canonical status. Zoning classifications, building permits, and safety inspections proceed according to standard ecclesiastical facility protocols. Parish families whose membership spans multiple generations demonstrate no awareness of St. Helena's historical unconsecrated status. Children baptized, confirmed, and married at St. Helena consider the Church their spiritual home without reference to canonical classification. Family traditions associated with St. Helena ceremonies continue without modification. Father Stewart's successor, appointed in 2028, receives orientation focusing on current pastoral responsibilities and community engagement, rather than historical administrative complexities. New clergy training emphasizes effective ministry within established parish framework. Historical background receives minimal attention during pastoral transition. Younger congregation members express no curiosity regarding St. Helena's distinctive classification. Parish participation focuses on contemporary spiritual needs and community activities. Historical questions rarely arise during religious education sessions. Parish identity emphasizes current mission rather than administrative heritage. Diocesan staff turnover gradually replaces personnel familiar with St. Helena's historical ceremonial delays. New administrative employees encounter AH1 classification as established institutional category requiring no historical context. Training materials present classification as standard administrative designation. Community members relocating to Braemar and joining St. Helena Parish receive standard welcome orientation focused on current programs and activities. Historical information about unconsecrated status rarely surfaces during new member integration. Parish literature emphasizes contemporary mission and community engagement. Academic papers addressing St. Helena's administrative history appear in Journal of Scottish Church History and Studies in Ecclesiastical Administration. Scholarly analysis treats the parish as case study in institutional adaptation and administrative flexibility. Research emphasizes procedural innovation rather than anomalous characteristics. Dr. Margaret Thompson's monograph, Alternative Sacred Spaces in Scottish Ecclesiastical History, includes chapter addressing St. Helena's AH1 classification. Academic treatment focuses on canonical law development and institutional accommodation of distinctive circumstances. Analysis avoids speculation about underlying causes of ceremonial delays. University of Edinburgh Department of Religious Studies includes St. Helena materials in graduate seminars addressing church administration and canonical law interpretation. Student research projects examine procedural documentation without attempting to resolve historical questions about ceremonial postponement. Historical societies reference St. Helena in publications addressing 19th and 20th century Scottish church development. Scholarly consensus treats the parish as example of successful institutional adaptation rather than administrative failure. Academic interpretations emphasize procedural sophistication rather than unexplained anomaly. Church historians acknowledge St. Helena's distinctive status while avoiding speculative interpretation of ceremonial delays. Professional historical analysis maintains focus on documented administrative responses rather than underlying motivational questions. Scholarly treatment emphasizes institutional competence rather than mysterious circumstances. The Church of Saint Helena building maintains structural integrity and functional capacity after 178 years of continuous operation. Recent renovations include digital audio systems, LED lighting installation, and accessibility improvements. Physical facilities demonstrate appropriate maintenance and capital investment, ensuring long-term operational viability. Architectural features display no indication of unusual canonical status. Exterior stonework, bell tower, and cemetery grounds appear identical to those of standard consecrated parishes throughout Scotland. Visitors observe no distinctive markings, signage, or architectural modifications reflecting AH1 classification. Interior furnishings include traditional altar, baptismal font, organ, and liturgical appointments meeting all ecclesiastical specifications. Sacred vessels, vestments, and ceremonial materials receive proper maintenance and blessing according to standard protocols. Religious artwork and stained glass windows demonstrate appropriate spiritual atmosphere. Church grounds encompass well-maintained cemetery, containing graves spanning 175 years of community history. Memorial stones bear standard religious inscriptions referencing St. Helena Parish without qualification. Landscape maintenance ensures appropriate dignity and accessibility for memorial visits and burial services. Facility utilization patterns demonstrate normal parish activity levels, including weekly worship, educational programs, community events, and ceremonial occasions. Building capacity accommodates congregation size and programming requirements without restriction. Physical infrastructure supports full range of ecclesiastical and community functions. St. Helena continues its pastoral mission within established administrative framework, requiring no modification or correction. AH1 classification provides stable institutional foundation for ongoing liturgical activity and community engagement. Administrative accommodation demonstrates ecclesiastical sophistication in managing canonical diversity. The parish serves community spiritual needs through effective pastoral care, meaningful worship experiences, and appropriate ceremonial support for significant life events. Sacred function achieves completion through continuous practice rather than singular ceremonial validation. Community engagement reflects successful ministry within distinctive canonical classification. Diocesan planning anticipates continued St. Helena operations according to current administrative framework. Long-term institutional development includes the parish among established resources requiring standard support and coordination. No procedural modifications appear in projected ecclesiastical planning. Administrative records demonstrate seamless integration of AH1 status within normal diocesan operations. Ongoing documentation focuses on routine parish activities rather than historical administrative complexities. Institutional attention emphasizes current ministry effectiveness rather than ceremonial heritage. The Church of Saint Helena achieved permanent institutional accommodation through systematic administrative adaptation rather than ceremonial resolution. Unconsecrated designation attained recognition as legitimate canonical category, supporting effective parish ministry. Sacred purpose fulfilled through accepted alternative framework, acknowledging diverse pathways to ecclesiastical functionality. Current configuration represents successful institutional evolution, accommodating canonical complexity within stable administrative structure. St. Helena operates as fully integrated parish component, requiring no special consideration or corrective intervention. Administrative classification demonstrates ecclesiastical capacity for procedural innovation and institutional flexibility. The building continues its ministry as it has for 178 years, structurally complete, liturgically active, and administratively integrated. Sacred function proceeds through established practice rather than ceremonial validation. Community service achieves continuity through institutional accommodation rather than canonical conformity. Administrative documentation confirms ongoing operational stability and appropriate resource utilization. Parish ministry demonstrates effectiveness within accepted framework. Institutional integration reflects successful adaptation rather than unresolved complexity. The Church stands. The services continue. The classification endures. This arrangement requires no further administrative attention.